Robert Dakota, Worldviews Media, and I'm here to introduce you to Marguerite Rigoglioso. Did I get that correct?
Right on. You've done
And
it.
she's going to have some pretty interesting topics to share with us in April. I appreciate the topic that you're bringing, Marguerite. Could you elaborate a little more what the title and the description entails?
Yeah. So first of all, thanks for having me, Robert, and hi to everybody watching. So this is going to be a talk called Energy, Consciousness, and the Sexual Healing of Humanity. So sexual energy, the consciousness that we need to have around this about what's been going on and where we need to go forward is the topic of this. So it's going to be pretty bold. Um, a number of people have been tuning into this big issue, how it relates to the interdimensional, essentially visitation, to put it in the most positive terms of humanity. The problematic nature of that has, it's something that Jesus and Magdalene were aware of 2000 years ago. And it's just been ongoing, and it is manifesting in so many nefarious ways that we can go into, we can talk about it, we can go into the list of how people are personally and how we collectively are besieged with this. And then, so I'm going to be going over that, helping people to understand some things about history and present time from this perspective, because it's taking the veil off of it so that we can see it and then know where we need to go, and then bringing people through a kind of a healing experience that I've received is beneficial for everybody, because it's not like just leaving everybody all upset about this, but we can take, somewhat to some degree, fairly simple actions to manage this, dissolve it, and then I know that William Henry will be talking later in the day about the light body, which is the critical element that we need to amplify in order to do this great healing. So I'll just pause there before I go on, just to see if you have any comments or questions on that.
Yeah, well, the reason why I think it's such an interesting topic is because we're kind of plagued with all kinds of explicit material, and that seems to be corrupting our integrity in relationship, all kinds of things. And it definitely must have some connection to AI, because it's getting the human being to connect with a computer instead of people.
That's right. That's right.
Um,
This is,
so you must, in your work, you must hear about this a lot, or have experience that a
yeah.
lot of people are going through that.
Yeah. I mean, yes, it's on the AI level, and we can get into that as well. But on the most personal, simple and obvious level, this attack on human sexuality has affected how we relate in love relationships, leading to all of the misery and the war of the sexes, and people's difficulty in being able to engage, maintain, positive conscious relationships, all of the stuff that ends up coming in to bust people up. And then on the level of sexuality itself, right? Everybody knows that it could all be so much more, right? And that's like at the simplest level. And then we get into the more complex levels with, oh, how did I get hooked into that sexual fantasy? Oh, right, the porn that I was exposed to when I was such and such an age. So it's like this whole porn industry thing. And then the normalization of porn as like, oh, part of healthy sexual relating. Well, actually, no. There's like a lot of negative agendas that are attached into that, and it could be so much better. because, you know, porn is to sex what Twinkies are to food. You know what I mean? Just saying. And so then there's all these kinds of traumas that people have to their sexual organs, you know, especially women, that kind of thing. And so it all leads to a lot of troublesome sexuality and relating on the personal level. I'm not saying this is true for everyone, but a lot of people, and even people who have, you know, relatively positive relationships, it's like, it's in there. This is not the Lemurian sexuality that, in a sense, we remember, right? So there's that level, like our personal lives. Then we get into all this stuff that we're either hearing about or we have experienced or we know that have been going on among our friends and others. And we hear whistleblowers talking about it, which is what? The sex trafficking of
Oh
children.
yeah, that's
Okay. The sex trafficking of children. So these are
Hmm.
things that I'm going to be mentioning, but I'm going to be going into it even more deeply and historically with how we need to understand what's going on. The sex trafficking of children, because what is that ending up doing? It's putting children in sexual experiences. And what I've been shown is that sexual energy and desire energy is such a heightened kind of energy that is meant to feed us, right? But the negative beings have to turn it into something negative in order to feed off it.
Mm-hmm.
They can't just go with natural, frank Lemurian sexuality, let's say. No, they can't access it. So they have to wind it in with pain, torture, shame, terror, confusion, fear, and all of that. If they get those energies going by one or both parties, then they can have dinner, you know, for themselves. It's just an energy game. That's what they're doing. So the sex trafficking and the sexual use of children is part of that. And then we go all the way up to all these things we've been hearing about, or I personally know people who experienced ritual abuse. All right. Orchestrated things, either within neighborhoods or in high-level societies, or, you know, at the highest levels of the echelons of our world. These rituals have been going on and are going on, and they are feeding grounds for these beings, you know, that these humans are in service to or have gotten conscripted into service to, right? So it's this whole thing. It goes all the way up. The porn industry is a part of this. The gender confusion thing now that's going on, especially with children, is a part of this. And this is all part of what I'm going to be talking about and helping us to understand in a new way, and then understand what we need to do about it, right? So that's going to be my presentation for the Earth Origin 6 conference. And then something I'm going to be talking about, Robert, is the use of false timelines with people and sexual abuse. That is something that came to me more than 12, 14 years ago, and it is uncanny. But that is where you really start understanding the interdimensional level of the manipulation, not to mention the abduction scenarios, which are all about sexual harvesting. Okay. Wow, how did we not entirely connect these dots before? You know what I mean? So that's part of what this presentation is about, to really help us see the extent of this network on the planet.
And it goes back into the origins. It's not a recent phenomenon. It's been here for millennia, probably.
Millennia. I mean, literally, if you look in the Gnostic Gospels, and I'm going to be showing exact evidence of this, Jesus knew all about this. He was speaking about it. In fact, the whole Sophia-Christos mission family came to Earth precisely because of this, which is why they get so negatively pinned with the sexual stigmas. Magdalene as the whore, Mother Mary as the virgin, Jesus as we don't really know what, but the obscuring of his real relationship with Magdalene. Okay, the whole thing, it's like once I really started, because I'm teaching about this right now, and once I really started going into this, I was like, whoa,
Mm,
I am looking into a well whose bottom I cannot discern. How common is this story, right?
very.
So when finally the Boston Globe or whoever broke the story about the church that shall remain unnamed, being the extent of this, it was giving validation to all those people who had had those experiences. And then it created a thing now. Now we understand this is real. Now the same thing is happening with the child sex trafficking, and soon it will be happening with the ritual abuse and so forth. So it has to do with insertions, spirit possession, and so forth, and other mechanisms that allows this to perpetuate on the planet. And if we think the organisms, so-called, of the last few years that we had challenges with regarding our health, this virus is massive,
Mm,
and it affects so many families. It
yeah.
is a literal infection that can go from person to person and generation to generation. So that's another technology they're using. They're using a kind of an interdimensional viral. They're using a timeline manipulation and splitting, etc. I'm here to say,
Yeah.
this is what's going on, and we're going to be looking at that in this presentation, on the Saturday morning of your conference,
Yeah, I
which is
know
an
it's
amazing confluence of people, by the way. Wow,
yeah,
what a lineup!
yeah, it's gonna be some earth shakers there for sure. We're gonna
Wow,
shake things up a little bit.
you're going. That's
Uh,
right. The female mysteries, the male mysteries. And then, yeah, this is absolutely a collaborative effort, this awakening, this healing. So it's very exciting. And usually, I'm among mostly women. So it's really cool for me to be coming to this conference, which has these strong masculines that are holding their pillars. It's like, wow, right on. Yeah.
So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for this brief interview. We're looking forward to more that you're going to share, and I'm sure that's going to lead to more uncovering and more resolution, more awakening and
That's what it's
transformation.
about. Yep, the great healing. Thank you so much for having me and for this time today.
Yeah, thank you, Marguerite. Bye.